As the sun sets a little slower in the evenings and the days take on a quieter rhythm, something else begins to change too, the way we see the people around us. In our younger years, we were often too busy juggling responsibilities, raising families, or chasing goals to notice who truly added peace to our lives and who quietly stole it. But now, with more time to reflect and less urgency to please, we begin to see things more clearly. Growing older is not just about numbers or gray hairs. It's about choosing peace, deliberately, unapologetically. It's about surrounding yourself with people who make your spirit lighter, not heavier. And that means facing a hard truth. Not everyone deserves a place in your life as you grow older. Yes, even some family members. This isn't about bitterness. It's about wisdom. About knowing that your golden years should be just that, golden. You've earned the right to protect your peace, your energy, and your heart. Because at this stage of life, your well-being is sacred. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away from those who no longer see your worth. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. There comes a point in life, often quietly, without ceremony, when you realize that your time is the most precious thing you have. Not your money, not your possessions, not your titles. Just time. And when you give it freely, when you pour your heart into a simple act of love, a home-cooked meal, a thoughtful favor, a ride across town, it comes with the hope that the gesture will be seen, appreciated, and maybe even remembered. But sometimes, it isn't. Sometimes, it feels like your kindness vanishes into thin air, unnoticed, unacknowledged, like you're invisible. You might know exactly what this feels like. Maybe you spent all afternoon preparing your son's favorite casserole, the one he used to beg for as a child. You hoped he'd walk in the door and smile, maybe hug you and say, "Thanks, Mom, this takes me back." Instead, he poked at the food and said it tasted different. Worse, somehow. Not what he remembered. And in that moment, all the love you stirred into every bite felt meaningless. Not because it was, but because it was met with cold indifference. Or maybe it's not a meal. Maybe it's the dozens of favors you've done for your niece, driving her to appointments, watching her kids, lending her money when she fell short. You never expected grand gestures in return. A simple thank you, a small sign that she understood the effort, would have been enough. But instead, she called again last night, asking for more help, this time without even pretending to say thanks. As if your time, your energy, your care were owed to her. As if she had the right to take and take without ever thinking to give. That's the quiet pain of dealing with the ungrateful. It isn't loud or dramatic. It's a slow erosion of your spirit. It's sitting alone in the kitchen after everyone's gone, wondering why you bothered. It's lying awake at night, replaying conversations that made you feel small, used, or dismissed. And it's beginning to wonder if maybe you're the one who's doing something wrong. But let's be clear, you're not. Their ingratitude doesn't define you. It reflects them, what they lack, what they've never learned, or perhaps what they've chosen to ignore. There is no shame in loving deeply or giving freely. That's what good people do. That's what you've always done. But love should not come at the expense of your dignity. Generosity should not be twisted into obligation. There's a dangerous lie that older adults, especially parents and grandparents, have been told for generations. That our love is only valuable if we keep giving it without question, that saying no is selfish, and that being needed is the same as being loved. But those are lies. Because love without gratitude becomes a burden. And you were not put on this earth to be anyone's burden bearer forever. You see, there's a difference between helping and being used. Helping brings warmth. It fills the room with joy, like when a neighbor knocks on your door just to say, Thank you again for that soup. It helped. Being used, on the other hand, leaves the air cold and heavy. It drains you. It makes you feel like a vending machine of kindness that people only visit when they need something. And the saddest part? You start shrinking. You stop offering the same warmth. You hesitate before saying yes. Not because you've lost your kindness, but because you're protecting it, guarding it, hoping that the next person will notice it, value it, maybe even return it. That's not bitterness. That's wisdom. Being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean you should keep pouring from your cup until there's nothing left for yourself. At your age, your energy matters. Your peace matters. You've spent decades giving, raising kids, working jobs, supporting spouses, and being there for family and friends. And now is the time to be selective with your love. To offer it where it blooms, not where it dies. So, what do you do when faced with someone ungrateful? You pull back, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. You stop chasing appreciation from those who never give it. You start noticing the small thank yous from unexpected places. The neighbor who always smiles and waves. The friend who remembers your birthday without Facebook's reminder. The grandchild who hugs you just a little tighter and says, "I missed you." You start planting your kindness in soil that gives back. This doesn't mean cutting people off with cruelty. It means setting gentle boundaries with a firm hand. It means saying, "I'm not able to help with that right now," without feeling guilty. It means reminding yourself that you're allowed to be tired, and more importantly, you're allowed to be valued. And if someone doesn't understand that, if they respond with guilt, with anger, or worse, with silence, then they've shown you exactly where they stand. Ungrateful people often expect the world, yet offer so little in return. They'll take your time, your love, your help, and they'll treat it as if it were nothing. But the truth is, what you give has deep worth. Your time is not cheap. Your presence is not disposable. Your love is not automatic. And anyone who treats it that way has no business holding a seat at your table. In your golden years, you should be surrounded by light. People who see you, who say thank you, who remember your kindness, not because it's rare, but because it's real. You've given the world so much. Now, it's time to give yourself the same. Let go of the ones who make you feel invisible. Walk away from those who make you feel like you owe them your soul. Choose peace over obligation. Choose warmth over duty. Choose to be seen, heard, and appreciated, not once in a while, but every day. Because you are not selfish for protecting your heart. You are wise. You are worthy. And you've earned the right to be treated with gratitude. There's a certain kind of weariness that doesn't come from your bones, but from your soul, the kind you feel after cleaning up someone else's mess for the 100th time, knowing deep down they're just going to make another. It's a quiet kind of exhaustion, the kind that builds slowly year after year, favor after favor, until you start wondering how much of your peace you've traded away just to keep someone else from falling apart. We've all known someone like that. Maybe it's your grown son, the one who's always just one step away from disaster. Every time his rent's due, he calls in a panic. Every time a car breaks down, he shows up at your door. He always sounds so desperate, so sincere. And because you're his parent, because your heart has never been able to say no, you help. You dig into your retirement savings, cancel your plans, and drive across town in the pouring rain. Not because you have to, but because love makes you feel like you must. Or maybe it's a niece who just needs a place to stay for a few nights. You open your door again. Weeks go by. Then months. She doesn't clean up. Doesn't look for work. You drop hints. You try to be polite. But somehow, she's still there, still depending on you like she's entitled to it. The irresponsible ones often wear a mask of helplessness. They make you feel like the only person they can turn to. And maybe, once upon a time, you were. But the truth is, they've had plenty of chances to learn, to grow, to take responsibility for their own lives. And yet, they don't. Why should they, when you're always there to catch them? Here's the truth most people don't want to say out loud. Helping someone who refuses to help themselves isn't kindness, it's enabling. It doesn't lift them, keeps them stuck. And worse, it drags you down with them. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially for those of us raised to believe that family means always saying yes. That love means sacrifice. That being needed means you matter. But there's a difference between being supportive and being someone's emotional crutch. There's a difference between compassion and codependence. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. And what do you get in return? Missed vacations, sleepless nights, bills that aren't yours, a house that no longer feels like your own. You start to resent them, and then you feel guilty for resenting them. It's a cycle that doesn't end until you decide it must. You've spent a lifetime being the fixer, the one who holds it all together. But now is the time to hold yourself together, to draw the line, not out of anger or spite, but out of love, love for your peace, your sanity, your future. It's okay to say, "I'm sorry, but I can't help you this time." It's okay to let someone else sit with the consequences of their own choices. Because the truth is, those consequences are the only thing that might finally teach them something. Yes, it's hard. Yes, they might be angry. They might call you selfish, cold, or unloving. But what they mean is, you're no longer easy to take advantage of. And that's not a flaw, that's growth. You deserve a life that doesn't revolve around putting out other people's fires. You deserve to enjoy your mornings without dread, your home without tension, your heart without guilt. You've earned it. And more than that, you need it. Let the grown children grow up. Let the distant cousins find their way. Let the ones who've leaned too hard for too long finally learn to stand on their own. Because at this stage in your life, being someone's safety net shouldn't come at the cost of your peace. You're not walking away from love. You're walking toward balance, toward boundaries, toward a version of yourself that gives freely, but wisely. That helps when it's healthy, not harmful. That finally puts yourself first, not because you've stopped caring, but because you care too much about your days, your health, your happiness. So if there's someone in your life who keeps stumbling into the same hole and calling you to pull them out, maybe it's time they learn to climb. Maybe it's time they see that love doesn't always look like rescue. Sometimes it looks like letting go. There's a certain kind of person who doesn't raise their voice, doesn't throw things, or storm out of the room. No, their power is quiet, subtler. They wear vulnerability like a costume, weaving stories of hardship and misfortune so convincingly that you find yourself pulled in, heart first. At first, you feel good, needed, and important. But somewhere along the line, you begin to feel something else entirely. Drained, manipulated, and quietly resentful. You've likely encountered someone like this. Maybe it's a sibling who always calls at the exact wrong time but insists, "You're the only one I can count on." Maybe it's a friend from church who always seems to be in crisis. Flat tire, missed rent, some drama with their adult children, and for some reason, it always becomes your problem. They never ask directly. They hint. They sigh. They say things like, "I just don't know what I'd do if you weren't around," and let the silence fill the air, waiting for you to offer help. It starts small. A ride to the store. Watching someone's dog for the weekend. A little cash here, a little more there. You tell yourself, it's just this once, and they're having a tough time. But the favors keep coming. The crises multiply. And slowly, something changes. You're no longer helping because you want to. You're helping because you feel obligated. Because if you don't, the guilt kicks in. That's the manipulator's favorite tool. Guilt. It's never about what you can reasonably offer. It's about what they can make you feel responsible for. They'll say things like, "If you cared, you'd do this," or "I guess I just expected more from someone like you." And there it is, the twist. Suddenly, your kindness is no longer generosity. It's a test, a debt, a measure of your love. They don't scream. They don't threaten. They simply know how to push just hard enough to keep you on the hook. And maybe you start to feel confused. You wonder if you're being selfish. After all, you've always been the helper, the dependable one, the one people could lean on. But now you're tired. Tired in a way that no nap or vacation can fix. Because emotional manipulation doesn't just wear you out, it makes you question your goodness. It takes your strength and twists it until it feels like weakness. But let me say this as clearly as possible. You are not selfish for protecting your energy. You are not cruel for saying no. And you are not unkind for drawing a line between helping someone out and being controlled by their chaos. There is a dangerous misconception that being loving means always saying yes, especially as we grow older. We're told that being a good parent, grandparent, or friend means putting everyone else first. But the truth is, love without boundaries becomes a tool for manipulation. And when someone uses your compassion to control you, that isn't love at all. That's emotional theft. Manipulators are often charming, even endearing. They'll tell you you're the only one who understands them. They'll bring up the past. "Remember when you helped me back then?" As if that obligates you forever. They'll flatter you just enough to keep you close, but never give you the space to breathe. And slowly, you start organizing your life around their needs, while your own gets pushed further and further down the list. Maybe you've missed doctor appointments because someone needed you to watch their kids, just this once. Maybe you've canceled plans because someone had a last-minute meltdown and couldn't be alone. Maybe you've written checks you can't afford because saying no felt like betrayal. That's how manipulation works, not through force, but through emotional leverage, through guilt, through obligation, through a slow erosion of your sense of self. But here's what you need to remember. You are allowed to choose peace. At this stage of life, you've earned the right to protect your time, your space, and your spirit. You've given enough. You've shown up enough. And if someone truly cares about you, they'll respect a boundary, not guilt-trip you for setting one. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you do care about yourself, your health, and your well-being. It means you've realized that love isn't something to be bartered or demanded. It's something to be shared freely, without strings attached. You can start small. The next time the manipulator comes knocking with another urgent need, take a breath. You don't owe them an explanation. A simple, "I'm not able to do that today," is enough. And if they protest, if they lay on the guilt, remember, that's not your problem. That's their pattern. And patterns only change when you stop participating in them. If it feels hard, that's because it is hard. Especially when manipulation is wrapped in the language of love. But real love doesn't make you feel small. It doesn't guilt you into giving more than you have. It doesn't come with conditions, price tags, or emotional blackmail. Real love sounds like, "I understand," and "I'm grateful," and "you've done more than enough." Real love respects when you say, "Not today." Real love doesn't leave you feeling empty. You've got enough years behind you to know this. Life is too short to be spent dancing around someone else's drama. It's too precious to be weighed down by guilt that doesn't belong to you. And your heart, that beautiful, generous heart, deserves to beat freely, without fear of manipulation. So if someone in your life uses love as a bargaining chip, if they only reach out when they need something, if they make you feel guilty for living your life, it's okay to step away. It's okay to say no. It's okay to protect your peace. Because love isn't about control. It's about choice. And today, you get to choose you. There's a special kind of loneliness that settles in when you're sitting right across from someone. Maybe at the kitchen table, on the phone, and they never really see you. You're there, you're present, you're speaking. But it's as if your words disappear before they land. Because the person across from you isn't listening. They're simply waiting for their turn to speak, or worse, to shift the spotlight back to themselves. That's the quiet heartbreak of being around the self-absorbed, the narcissists. These aren't people who argue or belittle you outright. No, their offense is more subtle, but in many ways more hurtful. They live in a world where every conversation, every memory, every moment must center on them. And if it doesn't, they'll find a way to make it so. You've likely been in one of these conversations before. You start to tell a story, maybe a sweet memory from your youth, or a moment that's been on your heart. You've barely gotten a few sentences in when they cut you off. That reminds me of when I... And suddenly, the conversation isn't about your moment anymore. It's about theirs. Again. You try to bring it back. You say, anyway, like I was saying. But they're already off and running, detailing a bigger story, a better vacation, a harder struggle. You smile politely. You nod. But inside, you feel something familiar creeping in. The quiet sense that your story doesn't matter, that your voice isn't welcome, that you're invisible. And over time, that feeling sticks. At first, you try to justify it. They don't mean to be rude. They're just excited. They've always been like that. But deep down, it stings. Because in these later chapters of life, your stories matter. They hold the years of experience, the struggles you've overcome, the lessons you've earned, not read in books, but lived in full color. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. You've earned the right to speak and be heard. To sit at a table and be part of the conversation, not a backdrop for someone else's monologue. But narcissists don't make space for that. In their world, only one voice matters, theirs. They don't ask follow-up questions. They don't pause to say, "Tell me more." They don't remember your stories, because they were never really listening. And if you bring it up, if you gently say, "I wasn't finished with my thought," or "I'd like to share something too," they get defensive, offended, sometimes even angry. Because to them, your need to be heard is an interruption, a threat to their spotlight. So what do? Well, first you stop shrinking. You stop folding your stories up and placing them in the drawer just to keep the peace. You stop letting your voice trail off when they interrupt. You stop telling yourself your memories don't matter just because they aren't received with applause. Because they do matter. Every story you hold is a thread in the rich tapestry of a life well lived. The hard winters, the unexpected joys, the heartbreaks and the little victories. They are yours, and they are sacred. So start by reclaiming your space. When someone talks over you, you have every right to say, "Hold on, I'd like to finish what I was saying." Not rudely, not angrily, just firmly. And if they still don't listen, that tells you everything you need to know. True connection, the kind that nourishes your soul, isn't a one-way street. It's a gentle give and take. It's when someone leans in and says, "Really? What happened next?" It's when they remember that story you told weeks ago and ask how it turned out. It's when they see you, not just as a background character in their world, but as a whole person with thoughts, feelings, and history that deserve respect. And if you're not getting that in a relationship, even with family, then it's okay to pull back. Not out of bitterness, but out of love for yourself. You see, the self-absorbed often rely on kind people, people like you, to keep their spotlight shining. But you weren't put on this earth to be anyone's audience for life. You weren't made to nod endlessly while your own words are brushed aside. You weren't meant to feel small so someone else can feel big. You've spent decades building a life full of meaning that deserves to be honored, not overshadowed. So, spend more time with the ones who lean in when you speak. The friend who remembers your stories. The grandchild who asks you about the old days and listens with wide eyes. The neighbor who says, "You always have the best advice." That's who deserves your presence, not those who only show up to talk about themselves. And when you feel the urge to stay quiet just to avoid being interrupted, remember this. Silence may keep the peace on the outside, but it robs you of your power on the inside. You are not invisible. You are not background noise. You are a story worth hearing. And in this season of life, with silver hair and soft wisdom in your eyes, you deserve to be surrounded by people who know that, who see that, and who make space for your voice to ring clear and true. There's something about growing older that sharpens your senses. Not just your eyesight or your hearing, but something deeper. You begin to notice more clearly who uplifts you and who quietly chips away at your joy. Some do it with silence, others with subtle guilt. But a few, like the critic and the chronic complainer, do it openly, right to your face, and somehow make you feel like it's your fault. Let's talk about the critic first. You know the type. The one who always has something to say about the way you live, your clothes, your hobbies, even the way you decorate your living room. Nothing is ever quite good enough. They use a tone that's coated in politeness, but it cuts all the same. "Oh, you're wearing that to church?" Or, "You spend that much on a cruise at your age." They say it's honesty. They say they're just trying to help. But deep down, you know better. What they're doing is feeding their insecurity by tearing someone else down, usually someone gentle. Usually, someone like you. And it stings, doesn't it? Especially when the critic is someone close, a sibling who never stopped competing, a friend who's grown more bitter with time, even one of your adult children who suddenly talks to you like they know better now. They talk about your life like it's some amateur project they've been assigned to fix, as if you didn't already live 1,000 lives before they were even born. You try to laugh it off. You say, "That's just how they are." But every comment lands like a tiny needle. Small but sharp. They don't see the hours you spent preparing that meal, or the excitement you had when you bought that new outfit. They just see an opportunity to poke holes in your happiness. And slowly, you start second-guessing yourself. You hesitate before sharing something you're proud of. You grow quiet at the table. You shrink. But here's the truth. You are not a problem to be corrected. You are not a project to be criticized. You have earned the right to live freely, to wear what makes you feel good, to spend your money on joy, to enjoy your retirement without someone hovering over your choices with a red pen. So the next time a critic opens their mouth, pause and ask yourself, do they really care about me, or do they just enjoy feeling superior? Because true care doesn't sound like sarcasm. It doesn't dress itself in just being honest. True care sounds like, "I'm happy for you. You deserve that. That looks great on you." And if you're not hearing those words from someone, it might be time to spend less time around them. Now, let's talk about another kind of drain on your spirit, the chronic complainer. At first, it might seem harmless. We all need to vent sometimes. A grumble here, a groan there, that's part of being human. But the chronic complainer takes it to a whole new level. They don't just have the occasional bad day. No, their whole life is a bad day. And they want you to sit through all of it. You know the one. They call just to talk about how terrible everything is. The weather, the news, the neighbors, their health, your health, the country, the cost of gas, the price of eggs. It's never ending. And the worst part? They don't want solutions. They don't want perspective. They want you to join them in the pit. You pick up the phone feeling fine. 10 minutes in, your chest is tight. 20 minutes in, you're wondering if anything good exists at all. That's the power of negativity. It's contagious. And the chronic complainer? They've made a lifestyle of it. They'll say they just need someone to talk to. But what they need is someone to carry their misery. And more often than not, they look for people with soft hearts and open ears. People like you. Because you'll listen. You'll nod. You'll say, "That's terrible," even when it's the same story for the 5th time this week. But here's something that might shock you. You don't owe anyone your energy. Not even someone lonely. Not even someone who means well. Not even someone who's been around forever. Because every time you sit through that storm of complaints without boundaries, you give a little piece of your peace away. And peace, in this season of life, is priceless. So what can you do? You can gently redirect. You know, I'd rather talk about something more uplifting today. You can limit your time. I've only got 10 minutes, then I have to take a walk. You can even choose not to answer that call sometimes. That's not rude. That's protecting your spirit. And slowly, you begin to notice the difference. You spend more time with people who tell stories that make you laugh. Who talks about their grandkids, their gardens, and the new book they're reading. People who still see the light, even on cloudy days. You leave those conversations feeling energized, not emptied. And you start to realize, you have a choice. You don't have to sit through constant criticism. You don't have to absorb endless complaints. You don't have to carry someone else's unhappiness on your shoulders. You've spent a lifetime supporting others. Now it's time to support yourself. Let the critic keep their opinions. Let the complainer hold their storm. You deserve peace, laughter, color, and freedom. You deserve conversations that make your soul feel lighter. You deserve to be around people who make you feel seen, not judged, not burdened. Because you are not here to be anyone's emotional trash bin. You are here to enjoy the time you've earned. So wear what you love. Celebrate what brings you joy. And walk away from the voices and the people who make you feel like that joy is wrong. You've come too far to live small. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. There's a special kind of joy that comes with sharing a little piece of your life with someone. A story, a laugh, a small victory. Maybe you just got back from a weekend trip to the lake, or your grandson won a school award, or you finally finished that jigsaw puzzle you've been working on for weeks. It doesn't have to be big. The beauty of it is that it's yours. A moment that made you smile. A memory worth keeping. But then, in walks the one-upper. You know the type. No matter what you share, they have to top it. You say, "We had such a nice time in the mountains last weekend," and before you can even finish, they're already interrupting. "Oh, that's nothing. We went to the Rockies last year and stayed in a 5-star lodge. Best trip of my life." You mention a small ache in your back, and they respond with a dramatic tale of surgeries, specialists, and 3 weeks in rehab. You show them a photo of your granddaughter's art project, and suddenly, you're looking at a full-blown gallery of your grandson's national awards. It would be funny if it didn't happen every time. And if it didn't leave you feeling small. That's the thing about the one-upper. They don't just want to share, they want to win. Even in casual conversation, even with something as simple as a homemade apple pie or a story from childhood, they treat it like a competition. And the moment you bring joy to the table, they can't help but knock it down. Not with cruelty, but with comparison. And comparison, over time, is a thief. It doesn't steal your memories, but it does make you question their worth. It turns your happiness into something that suddenly doesn't feel like enough. You start to hesitate before speaking up. You stop showing pictures, stop sharing little joys. Because what's the point if it's always going to be overshadowed? At first, you tell yourself they probably don't mean it. And maybe they don't. Maybe that's just how they're wired. But even unintentional habits can do damage, especially when they come from someone you've known for years. A friend, a sibling, even a spouse. And the hardest part? You don't want to argue. You don't want to make things awkward. So you smile, you nod, and you let your moment fade into the background. But here's something worth remembering. Your moments are enough. They don't need to be better or bigger to matter. They don't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. If it made you smile, if it made your heart feel full, that's more than enough. And if someone consistently makes you feel like your joys are small or unimportant, that says more about them than it ever will about you. People who constantly one-up others aren't trying to connect, they're trying to compete. And in doing so, they miss the point of human connection altogether. Life isn't a scoreboard. There are no trophies for those who traveled farther, those who suffered more, or who baked the fanciest cake. There's only presence. True, heartfelt presence. That quiet space where someone says, "I love hearing your stories. Tell me more." That's the kind of company you deserve. So the next time the one-upper strikes, when they swoop in with a bigger story, a better version, a louder moment, pause. You don't have to outdo them. You don't have to shrink, either. Just smile and say, "That's great. But I'd like to finish sharing what I was saying." Say it calmly. Say it kindly. And say it like you mean it. Because your story deserves to be heard. And if they still can't listen, still can't give you the space to be fully seen, then maybe it's time to shift your attention elsewhere, to the people who don't treat life like a contest, who understand that joy isn't meant to be measured, but shared. Spend time with those who clap for your small wins, who don't just tolerate your happiness, they celebrate it, who hears about your new flower bed and asks to see pictures, who leans in when you talk about your grandson's school play, even if it's just a small part. These are the people who understand that connection doesn't come from comparison. It comes from appreciation. Because at the end of the day, the one-uppers can keep their trophies. You don't need them. You already have something better. Your life, your joy, and the right to share it without being outshone. You've lived too long to be made to feel small. So speak your joys aloud. And don't let anyone, no matter how loud they shout, take away what's rightfully yours. As the years behind you and the road ahead begin to quiet, something inside you changes. You've spent a lifetime giving your children, your family, your community. Pouring your heart, your time, your energy into the lives of others. And now, in this golden chapter, you deserve something in return. Peace. The kind of peace that isn't shaken by guilt, drained by obligation, or drowned out by other people's noise. That peace begins with choices. The choice to step back from the ungrateful, who never saw your sacrifices. To distance yourself from the irresponsible, who expect you to fix what they've broken. To say, enough, to the manipulator who twists your love into a tool. To walk away from the narcissist who never truly listens. To rise above the critic who pokes holes in your joy. To limit the complainer who darkens every room. And to silence the one-upper who can't let you shine. These aren't cruel decisions. They are necessary ones, boundaries drawn in love, not anger. Because the truth is, you've earned the right to protect what remains of your time, your spirit, and your days. You've done enough. And now, it's time to care for someone you may have neglected far too long, yourself. So let your home be a place of light. Let your phone ring with laughter, not complaints. Surround yourself with people who see you, hear you, celebrate you. exactly as you are. If this message spoke to your heart, you're not alone. There's a whole community here that believes in living gently, wisely, and freely. Subscribe to this channel for more stories, reflections, and reminders that you are worthy of peace, and it's never too late to claim it.